Starts right now.
All right, happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm meteorologist Matt Daniel, and we're talking about some unsettled weather on the way as we go into the end of this week, and that's the next big thing we are tracking. Let's go right to it and show you what's happening right now. And you can see we've been enjoying some very quiet weather across the area. We had some clouds initially this morning, giving way to some sunshine. Still very warm in Tuscaloosa at 85 degrees, and we're just seeing a few clouds around up towards Nectar. We've seen some slightly cooler temperatures in the upper 70s and lower 80s as you go into East Alabama, but haven't seen much in the way of rain at the moment. But I do want to give you a first alert. We're looking at storm chances increasing Thursday into Friday. So I just want to give you that first alert. Some of those storms could be strong. Now, we're not looking at a widespread impactful event, but we're just looking at some of those annoying storms that a few of those could produce some gusty winds and maybe some large hail. So here's a look at the rain coverage for the next several days. Just an isolated rain chance tomorrow, but it becomes more scattered in nature Thursday into Friday, and we've had to increase that rain chance to 30% for Saturday as the system could start to stall across the southeast. So the next big thing we're looking at for Thursday afternoon into Thursday evening, for most of us, if we get those storms, heavy rain and lightning's a given. But a low chance we'll see some strong winds and large hail, and don't see much of a tornado threat in this particular setup. So here's the outlook from the Storm Prediction Center for Thursday. A marginal risk shaded in green. That's a 1 out of 5 on the scale, so that's a low end threat. And this is mainly for areas along and north of 2059. So we're talking about Marion, Lamar, into Fayette, Pickens, northwestern Tuscaloosa for wind and hail. Right now I'm thinking of a time frame between 3 and 8. This could still change, so we'll keep you updated. Of course, we'll have new updates later on tonight, and of course tomorrow morning on Good Day Alabama. So that's the next big thing we're tracking. We got a cold front on the way. It's been producing rounds of storms across the central United States for the past couple of days, and it will finally give us a chance for some showers and storms Thursday evening, and then it kind of just stalls in place. Notice Friday morning could see a few showers with another round of scattered activity Friday afternoon, and then finally starts to push in. But the big question is, will it make it all the way through here on Saturday? This model shows us dry, but we'll just have to wait and see across the area. But just looking ahead, we could pick up about 1/2 inch of rainfall across the area. So it's going to be a little bit unsettled Thursday and Friday, but I promise you we're going to have some really nice weather as we go into next week. So we're going to be watching that very closely with those rainfall totals. Your first alert meteorologist Megan Thomas is here, taking a closer look at the severe weather setup and if we could see temperatures approach record territory this week.
It's been fairly active from Texas up to the Ohio River Valley and even up and through western portions of New York with the severe weather outlook, including that level 3 out of level 5 for Columbus, Ohio. We've actually had tornado warnings this morning back in through portions of Missouri. For us, though, we are dominated by this area of high pressure, and that's the reason a lot of this moisture going up and around us. But our turn is coming. We will be seeing the possibility of a few stronger storms in the mix, probably close to about Thursday afternoon and evening, all thanks to this cold front. So that area of high pressure that is keeping us well above average breaks down, moves off to the east. The cold front comes in behind, and that's where you'll see that drop in temperatures on Saturday. We go to about 77 degrees. Look at the record highs for the rest of the week. We'll be in the low 90s for record highs, where we will be topping out in the mid 80s. So look forward to the weekend. Once the rain and storms come through, some cooler air settles on in.
All right, thank you, Megan. Yeah, looking forward to cooler air and not seeing any of those temperatures breaking record territory. New numbers tonight on severe weather season in Alabama so far this month as compared to past years. Our sister station WTVY does some research on our spring weather so far. So our severe weather season got off to a busy start in February and March, but April has been fairly tranquil across the state. And as you can see in this NOAA map, from 1999 through 2023, the state averaged 16 tornadoes each April. But so far in 2025, there's only been about 10, according to the National Weather Service. And great news tonight for an East Alabama high school band that will be able to replace a much needed trailer destroyed in an EF2 tornado in March. That big storm took out the old Winterboro High School gym and band trailer. The United Way of North Talladega has stepped in and donated $1,000 for a new trailer. Principal Grayson Lawrence says without this donation and the support from the community, traveling during the upcoming football season might not have been possible for the band.
It's not fun to look at your campus and see that it's been messed up by, a disaster like that. But, kids are resilient, and we carried on business as usual. I think we were out of school just one day, and we got kids back in school. And, the blessing here was that none of our kids' homes were affected.
And Principal Lawrence says they're hoping to have the football stadium repaired before the season starts. And use the code on your screen to download the First Alert weather app from the Google Play or Apple App Store. You'll be able to stay up to date for the latest forecast for your area and get notifications for your exact location. And new on First Alert Weather Extra, let's take a look at severe weather across the country and check out this video out of Missouri. A woman recording this video of a tornado moving through the Springfield area around Interstate 44 this morning. The National Weather Service in Springfield posted on X that they observed at least 90-mile-per-hour winds at the airport. And some homes were damaged in Minnesota when storms hit Monday evening. And this is near Kenyon, Minnesota. That area was under storm warnings with multiple tornadoes reported. And as you see, roofs were ripped off buildings, trucks flipped over, and debris tossed everywhere. And thousands spent hours after the storm without power in parts of Minnesota. A family lost their barn and some trees, but they are happy to be okay tonight, saying the experience was scary. The owner's daughter driving right behind the storm that blew through around dinner time.
Basically pitch black on my side, and all of a sudden in the shadows you could just see a funnel and just see it coming down, and I was like, oh no.
It had to been scary. The farmers say storm debris was tossed half a mile down the road. New on First Alert Weather Extra, a wildfire burning thousands of acres in Arizona. What firefighters are worried about when it comes to getting this under control. And we're on your side with why doctors want you to learn more about the dangers of malaria and how to stop the spread. Right now on First Alert Weather Extra, a wildfire in Arizona has now spread to more than 3,000 acres. This is new video of the Stronghold fire burning in Cochise County. The Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management says this fire is growing as temperatures warm up and winds pick up. Families in the area have been evacuated. And new tonight, the Trump administration just discussed all the scientists and authors working on the next report on how climate change is affecting the United States. The administration can now skip the congressionally mandated report, or it can pursue an alternative report. The last national climate assessment came out in 2023. It found climate change is already transforming every region of the United States. Congress mandated these reports be produced every 4 years, and the next is due by 2027. And new on First Alert Weather Extra, some scientists say it's time to start learning about the dangers of malaria and what you can do to prevent spreading. Here's Ted Linder.
Warmer weather across the U.S. is bringing some insects out of hibernation, as well as the diseases they carry with them.
Malaria is an infectious parasitic disease that's transmitted by species of mosquitoes, and it impacts the health of millions of people around the world.
The World Health Organization says malaria is a preventable and curable disease, but it can also lead to life-threatening symptoms.
It causes a number of deaths, hundreds of thousands of deaths every year.
Professor Catherine Hill at Purdue University says research has helped drastically decrease the number of malaria deaths from 1.5 million a year to under 500,000 a year. but the trend could be reversing.
And that's because we're in a constant arms race with the mosquito for control, and we sometimes lose our ability to control malaria by controlling the mosquito.
Most of the world's malaria cases tend to come from tropical climates in Asia, South America, and Africa. But the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says the U.S. sees around 2,000 cases a year.
These are cases that are typically acquired by travel. We've also started to see some local transmission of malaria, which is a concern because that means the local populations of mosquitoes have become infected.
Hill says the rise of infected mosquitoes in the country signals the need for more control and prevention, as well as increased public involvement.
You can become involved in fundraising efforts and volunteer efforts through a number of different philanthropic organisations to support research and public health efforts around the world.
Ted Lindner, Fox News.
All right, so speaking of mosquitoes, not a fan of them. I know you're not either. And unfortunately, we've had a lot of rain. And if there's any sitting water, they love to lay eggs. And that's when you see them blossom. And with temperatures in a very comfortable range, not too hot, not too cold, the Skeeter meter, unfortunately, showing high activity for Wednesday, Thursday, and again going into your Friday. So it's always important when it comes to mosquitoes that if after we've had some rain, especially if we get some rain Thursday and Friday, anything that's standing, make sure you dump it out, because if you leave it still, that's a breeding ground for those mosquitoes, and then you and I are going to both get bit, and that's never a good thing. But also as we go into Saturday and Sunday, we'll dry out, and once again the temperatures will be mild, so those mosquitoes will be likely around for us for the next months, unfortunately.
It's a thing we used to say, living off the fat of the land, and it worked. That wasn't just a saying, but that was reality, what people done in those days.
And living off the fat of the land. New on First Alert Weather Extra, meet a gardener who says growing food, plants, and flowers just isn't his hobby, but his lifelong passion. right, as I mentioned at the top of Weather Extra, we're going to keep a close eye on Thursday, maybe even going into Friday for the potential for a couple of strong and severe storms. And the rain is going to stay with us Friday and could linger into the first half of your weekend. One thing that I'm pretty certain of is by Sunday, we're looking at some dry air moving in and some cooler temperatures across the area. It's been a really nice day, somewhat summer-like in spots. A little bit warmer in West Alabama. We had more sunshine, so we saw temperatures climb into the mid-80s. In parts of East Alabama, more cloud cover, and that kept those temperatures from really warming up. So we've been hovering in the upper 70s and lower 80s over the past several hours, but it's been pretty quiet. Haven't seen any rain on radar. May have seen one speck here or there, but just kind of was gone in just a second. 80 degrees right now in Birmingham. So let's show you First Alert AccuTrack. Once again, we're always scanning the skies for any rain. Still not seeing anything on our First Alert AccuTrack radar, but this is what's been active all week long. We've got the stalled boundary, got some watches out, some warnings out, tornado and severe thunderstorm watches out for Texas into Oklahoma, and more active weather in parts of Kentucky. Eventually, this is what's going to make its way in here, giving us a chance for some storms Thursday and Friday. But you don't have to worry about rain this evening or tonight. We'll see temperatures cooling down to the low to mid 60s for your morning tomorrow. And as the kids are heading to the bus stop, we're looking pretty good. Partly to mostly cloudy, very similar to what we experienced today. 67 at 7 o'clock, in the lower 80s by noon. And we'll see those highs in the low to mid 80s with a pop-up shower chance. But once again, I just think most of us are going to remain dry. But that could change Thursday. Here's the outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. Notice that marginal risk, including parts of northwest Alabama. So we're looking at areas like Marion, Winston, up towards Coleman, Walker, Tuscaloosa, Fayette, Pickens counties. This is where we could see maybe a strong storm or two producing some damaging wind gusts and maybe some large hail. Time frame, probably later on in the afternoon into the evening between 3 and 8 p.m. I do think as this thing is moving towards the south and east, it's probably going to lose its punch and it's just going to rain itself out. So let's show you that future radar. This is showing you around lunchtime, Thursday afternoon. We're already in the lower 80s in spots, and there you go. You see that line of some heavy rain and storms. That's knocking on the door, and this is where we could see initially a strong or severe threat. Tornado-wise, most of the wind energy we look at, the spin in the atmosphere, there's some of it, but most of that energy is to the north. So tornadoes just doesn't look likely in this particular setup. We fast forward to about 6 or 7, and this is just one of our models. I'm sure when we get a new update, it'll look a little bit different. So you'll have to stay with us over the next couple of days. Of course, Mickey and Megan will have more updates tomorrow morning on Good Day Alabama, but it looks like we could see some stormy weather Thursday evening. This will likely weaken, and behind that rain, temperatures will likely cool down into the 60s. And then we'll see some drier conditions perhaps going into Thursday night. Now let's talk about what happens with this cold front. The dew points measures the amount of moisture in the atmosphere. It's going to stay a little muggy with those dew points in the 60s through Friday, but those dew points will likely drop as we go into Sunday. And what does that mean? Well, it's going to feel very comfortable with dry air in place. So really starting out the first full week of May, it's looking fantastic. And with dry air, it cools off very quickly. So it's Sunday morning, first alert for maybe a jacket. Yeah, you may need it. Upper 40s possible up to the north and east, looking at some lower 50s for a lot of spots. So it's going to feel pretty pleasant. You'll need that jacket Sunday morning. You may need it again going into your Monday. 7-day forecast looks like this. Pretty quiet weather for tomorrow. Not anticipating a lot of rain. That could change Thursday evening, and with another round of showers and storms going into your Friday. Temperatures in the mid 80s through Thursday, lower 80s on Friday, and then we cool down into the 70s with a few showers lingering Saturday, and then Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Looks really nice. Lower humidity, sunshine, upper 70s Sunday, near 80s Monday and Tuesday, and overnight lows staying in the mid 50s. So beautiful forecast for next week. A new warning tonight from the Alabama Forestry Commission about a fungal disease and pine trees. The commission cautioning forest landowners about brown spot needle blight. It's a fungal disease that causes discolored needles and can stunt tree growth and increase risk from pests such as bark beetles. The good news, as it gets hotter outside, scientists say the trees usually green back up. And new tonight, we got on Weather Extra, a 90-year-old Michigan gardener shares what he's learned about the land and growing vegetables. It's a lifelong journey that's become his passion. Here's Jolie Sherman.
Meet 90-year-old Willie Smith.
You're going to set the tomato in that hole and cover it up.
a man with a great heart and a very green thumb.
Cover it up. Well, it was a thing I've done all my life.
Smith's love for gardening began when he was young. Born and raised on a farm in Mississippi, he and his family grew up around animals and would grow their own food and vegetables.
It's a thing we used to say, living off the fat of the land. And it worked. That wasn't just a saying, but that was reality, what people done in those days.
Smith moved to Michigan in 1959, where he started working for General Motors and raising his family. Even then, he always made time for gardening.
This was July, last of July. I'm the type, I just don't like to sit inside the house all day long.
His daughter Sheila, remembering what it was like growing up.
He was just always so obsessed with it. Go out, don't forget to water my garden, don't, because he worked. I grew to appreciate it because we always had fresh vegetables.
Squash, even cucumbers, stuff like that. Tomatoes.
That's what Smith plans to grow in his garden, which wraps around his house.
But the ground gonna be firm. I ain't gonna have all these clods in it.
Willie Smith says the best time to plant is after Memorial Day when the weather is nice and warm. He says that's when he'll start, and by late June, early July, his garden here will be full.
Smith also recommends having rich soil and the right tools to create nice, neat rows for seeds. When it's hot outside, he says to water your plants twice a day in the early morning and late afternoon. His trick for keeping deer away, this scarecrow he made himself.
You think that's me standing out there?
Smith says gardening isn't easy, but he finds it very rewarding.
You don't get something for nothing. Life is like that. The plant's like their life. If you don't prepare for it, you won't make it.
To him, gardening is more than just a hobby, but a lifelong passion.
My garden somehow or another entertains me.
Oh, I love that so much. Yeah, I've never really been into gardening, but maybe something I'll start looking into down the road. Hey, why not? Hey, if you are starting a garden or planning on doing any type of yard work around the area, we're looking pretty good for tomorrow. No worries there. But of course, one good thing about getting stormy weather is it's Mother Nature's way of watering your lawn, your garden as well. So we're going to have those opportunities Thursday, Friday, maybe linger into Saturday. Sunday dries up, you can clean up the yard, do more, and take care of your garden as well. So we're looking pretty good. Just got to get through Thursday, Friday, into the first half of Saturday. There's more Weather Extra. That's coming up in just a few minutes. Stay with us. All right, this is my favorite part of Weather Extra, where we get to look around the state at some beautiful pictures from viewers like you at home. Stephanie Golage got this breathtaking shot of a rainbow over Lake Martin. Isn't that nice? Brett Weaver was in Grand Bay when he saw this pop-up thunderstorm that was taken looking at Mississippi. Turkey and Diane Tillison sharing some of their pretty roses, telling us they haven't been this full in one time. And this is a cool. Monica Johnson spotted this blimp Monday in Elsinore in Baldwin County. So pretty cool stuff there. Hey, we've got some nice weather once again as we go into tomorrow. Just a small rain chance, but we're looking at those storm chances returning. Here's another look at that 7-day forecast for you. And we're looking at those storms starting to increase Thursday. We're still going to fine tune. Once we get some of those high resolution models, we'll have a better idea of exactly the timing of those storms, but just plan for that potential, and that rain chance will likely linger as we go into your Friday. The biggest question mark is, will the rain stick around on Saturday? I can't promise it's going to be completely dry. Odds are likely we're going to have some lingering showers at least for the first half of the day, especially if you live along and south of I-20. So we'll be watching this. This could still change. We're still several days away before the weekend. So of course we'll continue to look at the latest information, keep you updated on the First Alert forecast. And then I just can't wait for Sunday. Lots of sunshine, low humidity, 70s for highs, lows in the 50s. You may need the jacket. Feeling pretty good. Well, that's it for us on Weather Extra. Tune in tonight at 9 o'clock for more news and weather. Have a great Tuesday evening.